started my career as a SharePoint developer, but as the guy who hated coding. I don't want to write code and all. Immediately after 6 months, I moved to build and release. And from the last 4.5 years, I'm into DevOps. There's just a thin line between DevOps and build and release. So as we go with the sessions and all, you get more idea about build and DevOps. So what will happen is after completing your trainings and everything, when we make the resumes, we put both the things, DevOps and build and release. So when you get an opportunities, you can even try for build and release and also for DevOps. I'll teach you or train you how to do with that. Okay. Any questions or anything if you have? Okay, you can just stop me then and there itself, and you can ask me any questions if you have. Otherwise, yeah, if you can just give me a little bit introduction about you. What I'm looking is, if you say that you don't have any experience, if you completed your master's or anything, I want to know what branch is it, and if you have any experience, just share me what experience do you have.
Yeah, I have 8 years experience in SAP. I do not have any prior experience towards admin, this kind of things. Basically, I'm into programming, SAP programming.
SAP programming, or it ABAP or something?
Yes, ABAP, ABAP.
So it will be more, then it will be more favorable to your side, because DevOps is almost 90% on the tool side, but there's 10% where you have to write a little bit of script. So if you have the background of, that's really good.
Like, do you require any, like, what is the depth of Linux knowledge required for this course?
So what happens is when you get a requirement, it will be a combination of both. You get a combination of both. Some people, some companies, for example, currently I'm with Intuit. Earlier I was with Tesco. Tesco is completely into Windows. They don't deal with Linux in it. But currently, okay, what I'm working deals with both. So you, as per the role, you get both the requirements, okay. And when you say Linux, right, what will happen is normally this is almost my 26th batch. So I get a people who have OTP and all them. What happens is they don't have a knowledge at all. So what I normally do is, if you don't have a knowledge, that's fine, well enough. What I normally do is I share, I'll share you guys a document I have. So in and day out what commands I work, I'll share you the document. And also with all the DevOps involves a lot of tools. Okay, we install the tools. It will be like admin first, tool installation, it will be like admin, and then usage. So when you install, I'll show you on both Windows and Linux. Okay. So by the end of this sessions, I'll make sure that you're comfortable with Linux. Not to the core, as a Linux administrator, you should be able to survive. Okay. Any questions you have before I start?
Yeah, that's all. And all the tools are open source, right? Like,
yeah, we're going to use everything open source tools. A lot of companies emphasize we want to open source, but if you have a lot of money with the company, they go with the paid ones. But what we're going to do is all open source. Okay, there's some tools of enterprise. What I normally do is I take the free version of 15 days or anything, we use it, and then once it's done, it's gone. Okay. Any other questions before I start?
Yeah, that's all from my side. Yeah.
Okay. So when we say DevOps, right, today's session what we are going to say is we're going to understand what exactly is the DevOps role, and then we'll see why companies require us, and then we're going to see main concepts of DevOps. Okay, and then last will be the tool sets which I'm discussing, what we'll go with the trainings. Okay, when we say DevOps, right, a lot of people have something like this. For example, when I say a testing or when I say development, it's a role. But DevOps, what people have an idea, what they think is DevOps also is like a role. It's not the role, it is the process and the mindset of the people. It's called the DevOps. When I say DevOps, Dev means development, Ops means operations. What developer does is he writes a code, right? What we do, we take the code, we build it. Since you have an idea of build, otherwise just think it that you have a code at one place, I'll take the code, I'll just zip the code, and then I ship it where end user can use it. So you're doing operations, development operations. So here major work what we do is, we will do automation work, automating all this release cycle, and then 10% is something like, or 20% is majorly on the communication. We deal with a lot of people around to make our life easy. I hope you have an idea on the SDLC life cycle, software development life cycle, right? What completely happens. First the design phase, and then the coding phase, testing phase, and then the deployment phase, right? So what happens is, we earlier when it was there, I think when you and I started, it was like a waterfall model. A requirement used to come, people used to develop in like 3 months. After 3 months, it used to go to production. But now what happened is, things are changing. Now it is agile methodology. What happens is, requirements are changing, but the delivery time is the same. You do something requirement, client comes to you and says, no Sanjay, I want it like this. But your end date to deliver is in this sprint. So for us, what we call sprint is like 15 days. So anything what requirement comes needs to go to development in 15 days. So it's like a race. So developers, earlier what used to happen is, I still remember when what we used to have is a developer used to do the deployment, or a tester used to do the deployment. Deployment is nothing but taking the code and putting it on production so that the end user can use it, or shipping it into different environments for testing. A tester or a developer used to do it. But the lot of loopholes started. For example, a developer has done some development work and given to the tester for testing, and he identifies a bug. Developer used to go and fix it on the testing environment, but he used to miss that, moving it to the production environment. They used to have production bugs. So they have a lot of problems like this. So then came up with a role. What they started telling us, we want a guy who doesn't have a background of development is good, who has a little bit background of development is also good, who doesn't know testing and all that. So then they started with a role called build and release. So what this guy does is, he goes, talks to the developers and identifies where the code is, does the build. Build is nothing but just taking the code and then creating it a package. For now, you're going to deal in more depth what build is. For now, just think that you're just taking the code, you're just zipping it, okay, and giving it to the tester so that they can test it. Okay, so he's a guy who's going to do this. And on the production side, you're going to talk to the service managers, or who's working on the site, or who monitors the site, and so you'll work with them and take their approval to move the code to production and all that. So this is how it started. But of late, what happened is, people started calling more than build and release. Again, the build and release guy used to do everything manual. Then they decided a lot of value in that work. Then they thought, okay, what he's doing, why can't we automate things like using some tools, major tools coming into picture. One company is Zabbia. Zabbia is one company. There are a lot of companies. One is the Jenkins itself is a company. Sonatype is one company. All these companies started looking values, and they started developing the tools which make easy life for build and release. And again, when the tools come in, automating things, using these tools in automated way. So that is how a DevOps role has come. That's the reason now they call it as DevOps. So end of the day, what happens is, DevOps is the person who has almost experience of 8 years or so. He manages the tools, he sets it up, and he gives to a build and release guy who has experience like 2-3 years. He maintains them. Any issues, again a DevOps guy fixes or again automates and give it to the build and release guy to maintain. But when this build and release guy moves up the ladder, right, he also gets experience on these tools. Then he starts automating. Then he becomes a DevOps guy. Again, he does that and give it to the build and release. That's how this role has evolved. Okay, so major work what we'll do is, we will do almost 30% is with talking to different people, is nothing but collaborating with different people. So if I put this in a Venn diagram, how does it look like is, so I have my software development guys. Xavier, just let me know if your net is slow or anything, because I feel like it's okay. You can, when I toggle to the next screen, you also can see it. If there's a delay or anything, do let me know.
Yeah,
okay. Okay. So what happens is, you have your development guys, you have your testing guys, and these technology operations. These are the people who might, for example, I take an example of an Amazon website. So these guys, technology operation guys, are the guys who want that Amazon site to be up and running every time. The more the site is up and running, the more revenue you get it. So when the site goes down, they are the people who are first held accountable. They keep the production website available. Okay, these are the technology operation guys. So your responsibility is to bring all of them together and solve your problem for your code to be shipped to the different environments. Okay. Now, let me take what used to happen earlier and what do we do. If you take a developer, right, when do you think a developer's role is done?
What do you think? When the program is done, they want to test it in the quality, then they'll move it to, they need the assistance of some basis or some admin type. Yeah, when it moves to production, right? Yeah. For example, I give you a requirement, you build a website or just small program, what do? You code it,
Okay, you give it to the testers or DevOps gives it to the testers, they test it, and then it goes to the production.
Correct.
Right? It is in the production environment. And then once it is in the production, everything is good. What do you say? The developer work is done.
Correct.
Right? So now the operation guy always need to see that the production server is up and running. Production site is available. Take a scenario on a Black Friday. Okay? You're working for an Amazon website on a Black Friday. Just 2 or 3 days before the Black Friday, they give you a requirement saying that you need to code something and all. What do? You have done the coding. What will be your yeah, I've done my coding, testing, or everything. I want to put it on production. But what will be the operation guys? He'll think, no boss, don't touch anything of production because Black Friday, a lot of sales is going to do. If this developer codes come there or anything breaks, I'm held accountable. But if you look at for everyone's perspective, right, everyone wants to do their work. But here you have a wall of confusion. So what we do is, as a DevOps guy, we have to break this wall of confusion. What we do is, when a developer writes his code, we put some DevOps tools. Okay, we put some DevOps tools which will assess the way he has written the code. Those we call it as the best coding standards he has followed and everything. And then we take it to the testers. We put a word to the testers, boss, this is a very important code because we have to ship it to the production at this end. Do the testing or editing, the regression, do it and all. We take the data. Then with that data, we go to the operation guys. And additionally, what we do is we test the back compatibility also. What code is there? New code we try to, if it fails, what is a plan B have? That's called the back compatibility. You do the deployment, new code. If it doesn't work, how fast can you revert that code? All the stats, what do is we take them and go to the operation guys. Then he approves it, saying that yes, okay, you're good to go. So you are the person who makes the operation guy comfortable to any new change that you need to do. Okay, is it clear?
Yeah, clear.
So till now, what we have just seen as what exactly is a DevOps guy and what we do. Okay, majorly on the communication side and all. Now we'll see what exact transition is required. What, for example, a company says, no, we are a DevOps company. We have adopted DevOps. A lot of people just think that we use some tools, it's a DevOps. It's not that way. So there are a lot of things which need to change for your life to be easy as a DevOps engineer. There are 3 major things which we feel is important. The first one is the organization culture. I'll give you an example. When I travel to US, right, I've seen a person as a DBA. Again, you would have seen in your career, like a person having an experience of 20-25 years, he'll still be in the developer role or in the base role. Like I've seen a database administrator. He has an experience of 22 years. He joined the company when he was a graduate, and 22 years he was in the same company doing the same task almost. What happens is every day at almost like 2 p.m. there's a processing which happens. It's the HR processing. What happens is there's a file from SAP basis guys. They send a file to them, and what he does is he processes and puts the data in the SQL server, and in turn he sends it to the a scheduled job in .NET. It shows up on the .NET page showing that the organization structure. If you understand, I think you understand this word, right? Organizational structure hierarchy. There will be a website in the company which tells you, okay, these are VP, people reporting on all that. So what happens is from SAP basis, there's a file which comes out. They process it in the DB in the database, and by in turn it shows in the .NET page. He was been doing this, and what happens is he always, this is like a manual, they send it automatically, it comes to the shared drive. What this guy does is goes there, yes, it is in the shared drive, yes, and then he manually right clicks and triggers the automation job which consumes that file and shows up on the website. So then we saw that it's like a lot of manual intervention required. So then what we said is let's automate it. You'll have a small job. What it will do is it will just a small script. It will just go at 2 o'clock when your clock ticks 2. It's like a scheduled type job. It will go and then check if the file is available. It will automatically trigger it and then it will show it on the page. This was we gave in the suggestion. He said, oh, it looks good. It's really helpful. But then he comes with his buts. What if the file is not available? What if your job does not work? All this. What these people, what we normally call as bureaucrats. When the thing is like that, they want it to be like that. They don't allow any new thing to happen because obvious reasons, right? Or more automation, less jobs. Think that way, and they say they have a lot of buts and all that. So what we do is in those scenarios, we go with a lot of scenarios. What we pleased him is, okay, if the file is not there, we'll put a file negative scenarios. If file exists, process. If it doesn't exist, send you an email or a call saying that a file is not there, just take care of some action. So you can put your time in something else. So that's what we did it. And second thing is always make sure you select right set of tools. Majorly DevOps, right, we do it for two technologies. One is for .NET and one is for Java technologies. So there's a tool, I'll tell you, it's called the Team Foundation Server. I'm not sure you heard it. TFS, Team Foundation Server. It's a Microsoft tool to store your code. It's pure Microsoft tool. You can't select that tool to do your Java tasks. Java code, I'll store it here. You can store it, but it's not the best practice. So always make sure that when a task needs to be done, select the right set of tools. For example, you have to copy a file from location A to location B, right? Don't go ahead and write some Python script for that. Just write some simple shell script or a batch script. So always make sure that you select right set of tools to automate your stuff. Okay? The next one is always make sure you have sufficient time in hand. Can you guess why we have this? Sufficient time in hand?
Maybe to rectify the errors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I gave you another thing, right? Now things have speeded up. For you're getting just 15 days. A sprint time is 15 days.
Yes.
Right? For example, if something is broken, make sure that you rectify it in that 15 days. Otherwise, the smooth process is broken. So everyone will be on top of you asking what happened, what happened, what happened. So always make sure that you have sufficient time in hand to do a back compatible also. If the tool is broken or anything, make sure that the earlier process still continues. And you have sufficient time to debug the errors and then fix it. Okay? Yeah. So majorly, these are the two things. One is unified process, which I've already said is when a process, unified tooling is something like you select the correct set, what you need to do. Unified process is very important to make your life easy. If a process is set, right? If a process is set, it needs to be done like this, it needs to be done like that. I'll give you an example. When I just traveled to US, I didn't have any friends, so I just made one friend. Like, he was a developer. I just got a new friend, and he's a developer. We work in the same project. I was doing DevOps, and he was a developer. Every day at 4 o'clock, a job needs to run. A build needs to happen. Developers, they put the code. What do? We take the code and we create a build, right? So what happened is this guy, he's a very close friend. He said, Sanjay, today there'll be a delay in the code which I do, guy. Why can't you push the build for 5 minutes? So every day build has to trigger at 4 o'clock, and we pushed it by 5 minutes. So I said, yeah, he's a nice friend. I don't want to lose him. So I said, okay. And for me to complete the build and deploy the environment used to take like 20-25 minutes. So by 4:30, I have to give the build to the testers so that they can test, do a small sanity check, and they can send a feedback to India team saying that, okay, we did a sanity check, it is working. Now you guys can do the testing once you are in office. So then what happened? 4:25, I was still able to deliver. That became like a habit for them. What they did say, Sanjay is our guy, he'll delay, it's okay. So one day they came they asked me to delay for 4:15, 4:20. I said okay. But what happened? I did a build was there with me, I deployed it. It broke. I was helpless. Then I was caught accountable asking, why did you break the process? So you were the person who broke the process, now you will be in a soup. So always make sure that when a thing is set like this, get it done like that. Don't break the process. Okay, well, you break the process, that will be difficult for you. And also what you can do is small things, regular things. You feel someone is good in development, someone is good in testing, who can help you, right? Or something like, for example, just to do a build, a button click is required. Don't make sure that you only have to do it every time, because you go for breaks, you take leaves in the office. So what you do is you identify a developer and tester. So just teach them. So when you are not there around also, they can do that. Okay, that gives a lot of confidence with people around. So that's how we do some habits, and then that's the reason it makes your life easy. Okay, that is how it looks in your office and everything. So that's the culture that you follow till now, what we have learned. So from now, what we are going to do is core work, what we do. Okay, any questions, Xavier? Okay. Xavier, any questions you have?
So basically, the DevOps role is like to move the code from build to quality, then so again this is not automated. DevOps
We
guy has to
automate
do.
it. We automate it.
Okay. But,
Okay.
okay, if the build code has to be moved to testing, then somebody has to do the click on the button or something.
We
Then
try
that's
to
again.
automate it. Yeah, we do it till testing. What we do, that I'll show you. What we do it. Okay. That I think Xavier will hold on to your question. Okay. I'll take care of that in the next step. If you still have a doubt on it, I'll answer that question. Okay. What we do is there are three things. Currently, it has become four things that we do. One is continuous integration. One is continuous delivery. The third one is continuous deployment. The fourth one is continuous monitoring. These are the four things which we need to address as a DevOps engineer. What exactly is that? These are the four words. I'll explain with a diagram. Okay, take you're a developer, right? You're doing some coding. After you write your code, what we do, we store it at a place, right? We store it at a place. What we do is, after that what happens is build happens. Build is nothing but taking the whole code and creating as a package. But when you're creating a package, you make sure that some standards are met. Like you run the unit test. You don't write the unit test, okay? Developers or they write the unit test. You, in your build, you compile those unit tests. And then you do something called code coverage and code analysis. Okay? What exactly is when a developer writes a code, you try to validate it. You don't go to each file and then check. You have tools available. What you do is you take these tools and you apply on the code. So that tool will tell you, yeah, this guy has written a code properly, or he didn't write the code. I'll give you one example. You write an if loop or while loop. When you write a while loop, it will be like brackets will be in C, right? Close C and open C. Yes. But when a developer writes a code, he can put it in the flower brackets also. The code gets compiled, but that's not the coding standard, right? So what will happen is when you apply these tools, it will alert you saying that, hey, here there's a problem. He didn't follow the rule. So that's the coding standard. So after everything is run, what happens? You have an end output created. Okay, you have an end output created. So what you do, you take that end output and you store it somewhere. Once that is stored, using some deployment tools, you can take it and then put it in some environments for testing. This is a normal process which happens for the Java and .NET projects. Developer codes and stored at a place. The code is taken and then this is called build process. Build happens and end output is created. We store that end output and then we use some tool to take that end output and to put it in some environments for testing. This is a manual process which happens. But as a DevOps guy, what we actually do is when a developer checks in the code into the source control, automatically without no intervention, nothing, a build gets triggered, which completes all these phases. And once all these phases are successful, automatically that end output is taken and stored in some tools like Nexus. Once it is stored here, my automatic deployment tool will take it and put it in the environment for testing. So just a check-in done by the developer, these all gets triggered automatically. Now, this is broken into phases. The first phase we call it as continuous integration. A developer checks in the code, okay? Checks in the code into some source control. Source control is the place where you have the code. It is taken automatically and the build is done, just the build. Compilation, build and unit test. If it is done, and then after this is done, a feedback is sent to the developer saying that, boss, the new code which you have entered into the source control is good. Or if the build is broken, boss, your new change has broken the build. When you are able to achieve till there, that is called continuous integration. What it meant is, for every new code check-in done by the developer, a build is triggered and a output or a feedback is sent back to him saying that it is successful or failure is called continuous integration. For every check-in, all this runs. Next is continuous delivery. At every point of time, a code is checked in, build is created, code coverage is run, and if you are able to store that end output in a place so that the next people can come and take it and deploy if they want it. Means at every time a check-in happens, build happens, and your end output is stored at a place which is ready for deployment. That is called continuous delivery. Now, just going ahead one more step. Build happens, code gets compiled, end output is created and it's stored, and your deployment tool will automatically take it and deploy it on some test environments, which is ready for testing. That is called continuous deployment. Okay, what we are going to, and the next one is continuous monitoring, is something like when it is deployed onto the test environments, you monitor everything, or into the production when it is deployed, you check the health. You have, in my company, right, we have 600 servers. I can't go and see each server, is the server up and running or everything is running or not. There'll be some monitoring, we keep it in place. So when everything is monitored, it sends you alert saying that, hey, this server is down. On this server, this service has come down, all that. If you are able to monitor it continuously, that's called continuous monitoring. Okay, is it clear, or did it answer your question, your earlier question you had?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yeah,
you still have any
question? And in the build phase, you are removing the role of the code reviewer, right? So it is automated now.
Everything is automated. Even tools like Git and all, right? What happens is automatically it goes for review.
Okay.
He reviews the code and everything. Once he says it, go ahead. He just tells yes, code is good. Is it automatically that creates a trigger point? So at every phase we are creating a trigger, something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Now how we are going to do it is using some tools. Here if you see, there are a lot of tools, right? Okay. So in our sessions, what we are going to learn. Okay. If I say DevOps, there are almost like 360 tools are there. What you can do is you can just search for something called DevOps periodic table. Okay, what if you just search for something called, even these guys have selected only 80% of that. This is done by a company called Zapier. What they did is every time they update this. This is called the periodic table. DevOps periodic table is what we call. Just taking time to load. Okay, this is the DevOps periodic table. So what did they do? They just broke everything into pieces. Like you store the code, you have something, you have the databases, you do the builds, you have different tools. You have some tools to do the triggering, you have the tools. So you have some tools to store. You have some tools to again do the automation tests. Lot of tools are there. So there are almost like 360 tools are there in market, and there are a lot of tools which we don't know also. So what happens is we can't cover those 360 tools. So what we do normally is we pick one tool or two tools from this set, and then what we do is I'll teach you the process. Okay, I'm not teaching you the tool also. Okay, I'll teach you the process. How, for example, and again, you attend a company interview for one company, the next company doesn't use that tool. It might be that situations also.
Correct.
So when they hire you also, what they do is, okay, if you don't know this tool, but do you know the other tools of this? So what I teach you is, I'll teach you the process first. Second thing is, every tool, the concept is same. I'll say source control. What is it? To store the code. It can be Git, it can be SVN, everything. The nature is the same, but the words are different. Okay, you put the code, you take the code, workspace will be there where you bring the code, you do some coding, put it back, all this. So that is how it will be. Okay, what you learn here is, you learn the process, you learn one or two tools how to use it, and then you will apply the same thing for the other tools if you want.
Okay, how complex is that each tool? Like maybe if I'm going for one tool, how complex, how wide is that tool?
I would say like, it will be like this. I'll teach you the basics, okay? What I expect from you is, I'll give you some assignment or the task. If you can do that task by yourself, really good. Take the help, and you have an experience, right? So if any issue comes, you know how to debug it, right? You go try or go to read the logs. If not, you search it on it and apply it. Right? I hope that's the process even I follow. So I hope if you're following the process and everything, anything you can debug and get it done. And if you come to the tools, the major tools which are good to know ones, okay, like Nexus and all, they're all basic ones. But tools like Jenkins, which are like heart of DevOps, they'll take almost like, even I do almost 4 or 5 sessions of that.
Okay.
Okay. So what we do is, The first day is just the terminology what we discussed, and second day is we'll set up the system. Okay, which I think you know the basic how to set up Java home and all, right? But I'll still go through the basic things. It will be a little faster way for you. And the next day I'll discuss on the major parts. It's like Apache Tomcat is where you host your websites. So here we'll deploy Jenkins on Windows and also in Linux. Okay, and then we'll go with the build. What exactly is the build? So what will happen is this will take. I'll give you the timings also. So the DevOps basically we've done setting up a system will take 1 day. Okay, it's like 1 hour session I'll say, and then installing Jenkins, security, all this will take like 4 hours. Okay, and then comes the build. Build will take 2 hours because I'll teach you the build for .NET and Java, and then basic structure of POM file, which is the Maven, which is the heart of it. Okay, and the Nexus will take 1 day. And the next one is the code quality, which will again take 1 day. And then the source control will take 2.5 days. And next important is the AWS, Amazon Web Services, where we host it on all. This will take 2 days. And the next one is the deployment, which is Chef, which is again important tool of DevOps. This will take 2 days. And scripting will almost like, if you take this is like 2.5 days, this will take 1.5 or something, and this will fit into that. Because we cover Shell, Python and everything like that, and Splunk will take half day, which will approximately come to like 18 hours of that.
Okay.
Okay, what I have, okay, let's keep the expectations also clear. What I do is, I do a session, you have the recording, so you practice it. After practicing, I'll give a task. Okay, I expect you to complete the task. If you don't complete it, the next day will be, like if I take a new topic, that's fine. If I'm taking the old topic and all, you won't be able to understand. So that is a minimum expectation I have from you.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let me know when you wanted to start. I'm done with the demo. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Do you require any programming knowledge for this one, or just only like maintaining the tools?
I'm the guy who hated coding.
Okay.
That's the reason I just moved out of this. I'm the guy who hated coding, so that's how I moved into DevOps. A little bit of scripting you have to do. I don't say there's nothing like that. You have to do a little bit of scripting. So again, this is how I do it. I get the requirement. I do a little bit of search on the net. I search it. I do the net. I write the syntax which fits in, and then it helps me. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions that you have?
Yeah, that's all from my side, Sanjay.
Okay. I think let me talk to Srinivas. I'm okay to, if you're okay and everything is fine, I'm okay to start.